Today, I'm travelling by sleeper train for 150 hours from the beaches of Miami, 5,500 miles across America to Alaska. I'll show you exactly what it's like to live on board, from economy to first class, to how you shower, what food you get, and what it's like to sleep on board. There's even separate viewing cars to enjoy one of the world's longest railway journeys. From mountains to cities to wilderness, let's pick up my story at the beginning of this epic adventure in South Beach, Miami. Well, hello there and welcome back to the channel where we begin our adventure all the way to Alaska. And look who I'm joined by.
Hello there.
Hello, fancy seeing you here.
Yeah, just passing by.
Just passing by. Well, shall we head over to the railway station?
We ought to. We've got a long way to go.
We do indeed. And that's no exaggeration. This is the longest train journey I've ever embarked upon. We first must travel the short distance over to Miami's downtown Brightline terminal. This is Florida's high-speed railway connecting Miami all the way up to Orlando at speeds of up to 125 miles an hour. The terminal is very much the opposite of your usual railway station and feels much more like an airport. Let's head right up to check-in. I say check-in as this is all dealt with via a mobile app, so really we just need to scan a QR code to gain entry to the platform. All that's left is a quick security screening. Right, shall we go get on board? It's certainly got pretty busy, but that's because the 5-car train seats a shy over 300 passengers, all boarding at once. I've booked premium class for this first segment, which grants you access to the first class carriage, seating 50 in a 2-1 configuration. Within moments, our train begins to glide out of Miami Station, marking the beginning of our epic adventure. So, what's the plan? Well, we'll travel some 70 miles over the next hour to West Palm Beach, where we'll be catching our first long-distance sleeper train, the historic silver Meteor. It's not long before service springs into action. Premium class get complimentary food and snacks. It's possibly a little too early for a beer, so we'll enjoy a couple of soft drinks and take a look around my seat. The seats are comfy, adorned in leather, with an adjustable armrest, small pull-out table and charging facilities. Ideal to plug in a laptop and get some work done on the inclusive Wi-Fi, which is moderately fast. If nature calls, there's one modern and spotless lavatory for each carriage. I think it's fair to say this is a stellar rail experience, albeit quite a short one.
Welcome to West Palm Beach.
Yes, welcome. Our first stop of the trip, although quite a short-lived one, as we've now got to walk about 9 minutes over to the Amtrak railway station. Unfortunately, as Brightline and Amtrak are competitors, the stations are by intention far apart. That said, a stroll is quite nice ahead of our upcoming sleeper train. So, West Palm Station is actually a rather historic landmark. Opened in January 1925 as a seaboard airline railway depot. In fact, the ferry train we're taking has served this stop since 1939. The station does still have some old world charm, with a quaint waiting room and ticket counter, serving both Amtrak and Tri-Rail services multiple times a day. Our conductor has a quick glance at our ticket and beckons us on board. This is a Viewliner 1 car, dating from 1996. Whilst I've tried the roomettes before, I've not tried the bedrooms on a Viewliner, so let's head to room B and check it out. Within moments we begin to roll out of the station, starting the clock on this 20-hour segment. But where are we heading? Unsurprisingly due north and up through 10 states, arriving into New York City tomorrow afternoon.
Here we are then. Welcome back to Amtrak.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back on board. It's been a few months. Shall we get settled in and I'll show you all around?
Won't take long.
So, our bedroom. It's certainly on the compact side at around 45 square foot, but does manage to pack in a sofa. foldable chair, and of course double height windows. During the evening our attendant will transform our space into 2 bunks. There's a fold-out table for checkers and a small closet with room for a shirt or 2. We have the luxury of ensuite facilities here, meaning there's a sink and a separate washroom, complete with a shower, which we'll try out later on. It's time for our first fresh air break, and needing no invitation, let's hop off and into the sunshine. Well, welcome to Orlando. We have a brief stop here, enough to stretch your legs. You can get out and have a little look around. Now, I know what you may be thinking. Doesn't the Brightline go all the way up to Orlando? Yes, indeed it does, but the station is a good 23 miles away. Not exactly ideal for our Amtrak connection. Back on the move again, I think we'll go in search of some refreshments. On the way, we step into the Viewliner 2 carriage, which features the other sleeper accommodation, the roomette. Also sleeping 2, but in a far more compact 22 square foot. It is, however, the updated version, and therefore a more comfortable, modern experience, i.e. not featuring a toilet next to where you sleep, prevalent on its predecessor. Anyway, onwards to the cafe car. Here you can purchase from a selection of hard and soft drinks, along with light snacks. Clearly on the same page, Dad orders some beers and Doritos as we settle into the diner style seating. Thankfully the Doritos are not our dinner. This will be taken in the dining car, which is included for sleeper passengers. I'm pleasantly surprised to see the return of traditional dining rather than the microwave meals, which have become commonplace across Amtrak's network since COVID. Naturally I've opted for the steak, whilst Dad chooses the Atlantic salmon. And to finish off proceedings, we're served the white chocolate blueberry cheesecake. Feeling pretty full now, I think we'll call it a night and head back to our sleeping quarters. Welcome back to our room. Our beds have been beautifully turned down, ready for sleep. Dad, how's your evening been?
Yeah, it's been good, thank you.
It's been really good, hasn't it? Now, the conundrum, there's a top and bottom bunk. I'll take the top. Do you want to go down below, Dad?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Let's call it a night. Good morning from the state of Virginia. We've made some great progress during the night, and it won't be all too long before we make it to DC. So in the interim, shall we try out the shower? Good morning from Washington DC. It's certainly a little bit colder here. I'm not appropriately dressed, but hey, we're only here for about 10-15 minutes. Got to swap the locomotive. I've been told it's going electric, which I didn't realise. Ah yes, so we'll be connecting onto the Northeast Corridor, which is fully electrified, and requires us to swap out our locomotive, so it's bye-bye GE, and hello Siemens Loco. The whole process mercifully is pretty quick, and I'm back inside, warmer within a few minutes. Next on the agenda is breakfast, back in the dining car. To begin, we both opt for the obligatory caffeine hit, followed by a near identical order of scrambled eggs. And just like that, the familiar New York City skyline comes into view. Well, Dad, welcome to New York.
Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, we finally made it, although our journey is far from over. However, we do have an overnight here before coming back to this very station tomorrow morning. So here's the plan. Our connection onwards only goes once a day. So instead we'll head over to Lower Manhattan to stay overnight at the iconic Beekman Hotel. The Beekman was originally the Temple Court building and was one of Manhattan's original skyscrapers, used for many years as offices, being in the financial district, though fell into disrepair and was eventually renovated, reopening as the current hotel in 2016. It's a lovely spot to rest up, ready for tomorrow's return to the rails. And well, to keep up appearances, of course once dusk falls, we'll head to the Beekman Steakhouse to indulge. Good morning, it's far too early to be up and about. Back as mentioned at the Moynihan train hall, ready to catch a train to another country. Okay, let me explain. So in order to progress further to Alaska, we need to take the Maple Leaf train, which leaves once a day at 7:15 AM, bound for Canada. It seems to be a particularly popular service today, apparently fully sold out, so let's hot-foot it down to the platform. Interestingly, this is an Amtrak operated service, with the rolling stock going all the way into Canada. I was only able to reserve as coach class for this segment, though I'm positive we'll be more than comfortable for this 12-hour jaunt. As we begin to glide out of New York, what's the route? We'll journey northwest, some 544 miles, arriving into Toronto later this evening. Right, let's take a closer look at our coach carriage, which seats 72 passengers in a 2-2 configuration. There's 2 power outlets, and the seat is adjustable by means of recline. There's even an airline style fold out table, along with a seatbelt pocket, which contains a safety pamphlet. With mid-morning fast approaching, we're yet to indulge in some caffeine, so in order to change this, we'll head to the cafe car located towards the rear of the train. So what can one purchase in the cafe? Well, it's a similar story to yesterday's train, with hot and cold light bites and the all-important drip coffee at the ready. Progress is slow and steady, and it's not long before we reach our first fresh air break of the day. Well, I'm very happy to welcome you to Albany. We've got a short smoke stop here for around 10 minutes when the engine changes. Much to my ill-informed impression, New York City is not the state capital of New York, rather Albany is. Not only this, it's also the oldest city of the state, dating back to 1609. Back to present day, our new locomotive has been attached, and the Maple Leaf train is ready for imminent departure. Right, I make it lunchtime. Dad has gone to investigate the cafe car, and has returned with quite the picnic. Naturally starting with a crisp DC, a selection of kettle chips, and a caprese sandwich. Much of the afternoon slips away with a mix of enjoying the views of upstate New York and chatting with Dad. That is until we reach a significant milestone of the trip, Niagara Falls. This also marks the United States border with Canada, and within moments we're heading over the bridge separating the two nations. Next up, we need to formally enter Canada, which means disembarking the train with all our luggage and heading to the border post to get our passports stamped. I guess it's officially welcome to Canada. Now it is time to reboard the train as we head towards Toronto. Getting back on board, things have changed a little. We're now in the tiny and only business class cabin right to the rear of the train. Here there's also no reserved seating, and we're free to select any spot available. I will say though, aside from the seats offering a little more legroom, they're not hugely different to our previous coach ones. Well, after a very long day, I'm happy to finally welcome you to Toronto. Walking out of the station, we're met immediately by the sight of tonight's accommodation. This is one of Canada's great railway hotels, the Royal York, and it's quite the historical landmark. Opened in 1929, it was built to become the largest hotel in the British Commonwealth, with space for over 1,000 guest rooms, frequented by patrons who would be travelling across the country by train. Today the hotel retains its grandeur and elegance, with its Fairmont Gold suites on the upper floors. And with that, it's finally time to get some rest, and I'll pick up with you all in the morning. Good morning, and we're back at the railway station yet again. It was a long way to go though, wasn't it?
It was a very long way.
Anyway, the reason we're here, of course we're catching a train, but it's a particularly long one. We won't be heading to the general ticket office. Instead, we've been told to report to the business lounge for check-in. Yes, indeed, that probably gives it away. Of course, we're checking in for one of the world's longest train services, the twice-weekly Canadian.
Feel the magic, take the train.
Check-in formalities are efficient, and with our tickets issued, we're granted entry to the lounge. This space is dedicated largely to Sleeper Plus passengers, and of course there's ample coffee, among other refreshments on offer. Today we're in Prestige class, and there's a separate space for us to the rear of the lounge. We don't have long to wait. A side door opens, and we're led out to the platform by one of the friendly Via Rail attendants. Here we are then, the Canadian. What makes this train so special is it still utilises the original stainless steel Bud rolling stock, built in Philadelphia back in the 1950s. They represent the golden era of rail travel, and unfortunately are largely no longer in operation. That is of course unless you ride the Canadian. Welcome to my new home. This will be where I'll be living for the next 5 days. Let's get settled in and I'll show you all around. As we roll out of Toronto, shall we take a look at our route? The Canadian will take us some 2,700 miles through most of Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and finally British Columbia, and indeed Vancouver. Leaving the city limits of Toronto behind, let's take a look around our cabin. There are 6 prestige rooms per railway car, featuring a leather-adorned corner sofa, a television loaded with on-demand movies, and some welcome amenities for our journey. There's a small closet space with room for perhaps one coat, and of course AC controls. There's also an ensuite bathroom, which we'll check out a little later. Rightly so, you'll be wondering where Dad is. Well, let me show you. Oh, hello Dad. Fancy seeing you here.
Yeah, do come in.
Oh, hello, this is nice.
Yeah, welcome to my room.
This is very nice indeed. Are you settling in okay?
Yeah, it's very comfortable.
I'm going to come join you actually. Let's watch the world go by.
We've got a lovely view.
It is lovely, isn't it? A huge windows. And can you believe that we're going to be on here for 5 days?
5?
5 days.
Okay.
With all this travel, in order to stay connected, I have to use a multitude of unsecured public Wi-Fi, be it on the rails, at hotels and at sea. Thankfully, that's where today's video sponsor NordVPN comes in, which acts like a tunnel between you and the rest of the internet, keeping both you and your data secure. I've been using NordVPN for years now, and it's a vital part of my travel arsenal. It's great for all my travel overseas because it's a virtual private network and allows me to mask my location and present as if I'm back in the United Kingdom. This means I can keep up with all of my shows that I watch with Millie back home, even thousands of miles away. NordVPN is a really valuable tool and gives me peace of mind when travelling. Head to nordvpn.com/TrekTrendy and sign up for 2 years and you'll get 4 months for free. There's even a money back guarantee for 30 days. That's nordvpn.com/TrekTrendy. With the afternoon merging into evening, we're invited to take dinner in the restaurant car, a few carriages along. Timings are pretty flexible and we've chosen the 7 PM sitting. Tables are largely set out for 4, though there are a few exceptions for prestige guests. Let's take a look at the menu then. 2 meat, a fish and 1 vegetarian option is good in my book. To start, we both opt for the tomato and vegetable soup, which is delicious. With our appetites wet, I'm served the beef tenderloin and Dad the trout for our main course. Both are hearty and most enjoyable. To finish off proceedings, Dad opts for the caramel cheesecake, and I the decadent chocolate truffle cake. Outstanding, but my word, I'm gonna have to watch having this every night. During our absence, our rooms have been turned down, ready for sleep. It's for sure a real treat having a double bed on board a train. To conclude our stellar day on the rails, let's get my NASA PJs on for good measure. I think first things first, we'll check out our ensuite bathroom properly and take a shower. It's a compact space, but both clean and modern, unlike Amtrak's Viewliner bedroom. The shower itself is also compact, but provides good pressure hot water, so nothing to complain about here. Well, good morning from Armstrong. This is our first proper stop to get off and stretch our legs. We've almost been on the train already 24 hours. But anyway, let's have a little walk around here. We've got about 5 minutes before we've got to get back on board. I love the snapshots you get of these small communities that I may not have visited otherwise. The train still provides a valuable rail connection to this 200-person strong town. As we continue to glide through the province of Ontario, we're notified lunch is being served in the dining car. Priorities, of course, a DC for us both, followed by a cream of tomato soup today. For main, I've chosen the beef burger, and Dad the tuna melt. As all the reviews say, you won't go hungry on board the Canadian. I'm very happy to welcome you to Sioux Lookout. Now, where we've got off the train, unfortunately, is quite far from the station, so I'm hoping that we can get down there. We've got about 10 minutes. Should have enough time. Might have to get a little jog on to get back to our carriage though. This really puts into perspective the size of this train. I mean, we're not quite Snowpiercer, but we're 20 cars long at the moment. So, Sioux Lookout is known as the Hub of the North because of its importance to the 29 remote First Nation communities, with 30,000 people relying on the town for essential services. Thanks to having a good few minutes here, I really want to check out our locomotives. Our train is pulled by 2 of these F40PHs, which provide a combined 6,000 horsepower. As predicted, we need to run back to our carriage. Right, I think it's time we explore more of our train, and no better place to start than the park car. What makes this so special is whilst modernised, this is similar to what it would have been like back in the 1950s. It's reserved exclusively for prestige class guests every day until 4 PM, which creates a much quieter, special atmosphere, and why many pay the top dollar to go prestige. Moving onwards, you get to the Bullet Lounge, offering phenomenal views off the back of the train. The highlight of course is upstairs in the dome. Our favourite spot here has got to be the forward seating, offering us uninterrupted, commanding views out over the full length of the train. One of our wonderful prestige hosts offers us some lobster rolls, which of course we gladly accept. Naturally, this is complemented by a couple of ice-cold Canadian beers. I fear we may have somewhat lost track of time. Dinner is being served back in the restaurant car, and I'm inquisitive to find out what's on offer tonight. To kick things off, we both go for the salad of the day, featuring a zesty vinaigrette dressing. For main, we again mirror each other and go for the vegetable lasagna. It perfectly hits the spot. For dessert, we go for the key lime cheesecake. Now all we need is a baked Alaska. With that, I think it's time to hit the hay. Saying this before turning in for the night, I peek out of the window to see the bright lights of Winnipeg staring back at me. Good morning, another blissful night's sleep on the rails. It's time to see what breakfast is like on board. We'll start of course with a caffeine hit, as we mull over the options. We both go for the chef's omelette, served with shredded hash browns. Right, so yesterday I spied an espresso machine in the park car with our names on it. Shall we? I know I said the dome is my favourite, but this is really quite the civilised spot to enjoy a mid-morning coffee. Well, hello from Saskatoon. We've actually got an extended stop here. I think it's about 30 minutes. So we're going to try and get some steps in, work off some of that incredible food. I've lost Dad. I think he's somewhere up here. Maybe he's trying to have a look at the front of the train. Let's go and investigate. Saskatoon is the largest city in Saskatchewan, with a population of around 300,000 residents. Notable landmarks include the Bessborough, another iconic railway hotel which opened in 1935. The station is perhaps less glamorous, located 4 miles out of the city centre, but that's likely because it only ever sees twice weekly traffic from the Canadian. Look who I have found out the back of the station. Hello, hello. Do you want to go and see the front of the train?
Well, we may as well, because there is not a lot here, is there?
Well, the historic station was actually located downtown until 1964, but after being moved, the only action you're going to find around here is the active freight yard. Therefore, I think our attention is best spent getting the steps in. As we roll out of Saskatoon, it dawns on me we've not had the chance to explore the other accommodation offered on board. Introducing the Manor Car. These feature a multitude of sleeping arrangements. First up, the roomette. And yes, that is indeed a toilet. By night, however, the room converts to a cosy bed. Though this does cover the toilet, not to worry though, there's a far more substantial washroom just down the corridor. Next we have the upper and lower berth, which by day offer comfy coach-style seating facing one another, but by night convert to bunk beds, which are semi-private by means of a curtain. Both of the aforementioned accommodations have access to a shower room. Now, given that during most of the day, these other sleeper passengers don't have access to the park car, what facilities do they have access to? Introducing the Skyline car. One half of the car is dedicated to recreation. So anything from board games and puzzles, to seated yoga classes, and even beer tasting. There's also a small dedicated tea and coffee station, along with some complimentary help yourself snacks. Mid-carriage there's a kitchen where you can order light meals at an additional cost. Next we get to the lounge, which currently features some live entertainment from a local musician. For comparison, here's the space without any passengers. The real icing on the cake though is the dome. Located up these stairs you'll find a space not too dissimilar to the park car. As much as I love the Skyline car, we're drawn to canapes and happy hour in the park car. Specifically the Mural Lounge, just below the scenic dome. To note, as prestige class passengers, we get all our drinks included, so thankfully we can disregard these prices, in favour of indulging in our desired tipple. Predictably of course, we both go for another one of those delicious ice cold Canadian beers, along with a charcuterie board. If you're wondering, Dad won again. I make it time for dinner. Just looking at the menu, I'm positive you're going to guess my order. We'll start of course with the salad of the day, this time with a Caesar dressing. For main, Dad goes for the marinated tofu, and you guessed correctly, I ordered the prime rib. Good morning. Today is the highlight for many who take the Canadian, and that's because we pass through the Rocky Mountains. There's no better place to view this passage than the dome of the park car. And thanks to our early rising, we've secured front row seats. The other benefit of course is decent coffee on hand, served by the phenomenal staff, who I must emphasise have been incredible throughout. As we continue deeper into the Rockies, we enter Jasper National Park. Now ordinarily the mood would be uplifting here. It's with sadness I must mention, just a few weeks prior, a ferocious wildfire devastated huge parts of the landscape, including many residential areas of Jasper. It's truly devastating to see, and my thoughts are with all those affected.
Well, Dad, welcome to Blue River.
Yeah.
We have an unexpected stop. I don't know if that's because we're delayed.
Well, I think we need to stretch our legs.
We do, definitely. We haven't been off in... It's actually over 24 hours, I think, since we've been off the train.
My legs still.
So after some research, this is what's known as a stop on request. So Blue River itself is a small community with a population of around 150. It gets its name of course from the river flowing through the town, which attracts many tourists in the summer season. It's also a welcome to our final Canadian province of British Columbia. Back on the move again, there's still one class of travel we've not taken a look at. Coach, located towards the very front of the train, with seating for 72 passengers in a 2-2 configuration. The seats are spacious and offer a decent level of recline. I'd for sure take this for a day trip, but I'm not sure I'd fancy sleeping here, and some actually do for the entire length of the Canadian. As we glide through Kamloops, our prestige room attendant offers us some refreshments and another charcuterie board in our room.
Welcome to Vancouver.
That was quite a journey, but I have to say I loved it. However, Dad, the journey's not over yet, because we still got to get to Alaska.
Oh, please.
So the next leg of travel departs first thing in the morning, which gives us a free afternoon in Vancouver. To make our stay as comfortable as possible, I've booked us rooms at the Rosewood, which certainly delivers. But for a sunny afternoon in British Columbia, we of course rent bikes and head for Stanley Park. Truly a special father and son adventure, and one I'll treasure for years to come. We're back of course at Vancouver's Pacific Central Station. And this queue can only mean one thing: border control. Welcome back to the United States. Well, technically, as we're physically still in Canada, but because of our train's routing, we clear customs here. And yes, you do see correctly, Amtrak is here to welcome us. Introducing the cross-border Amtrak Cascades. Named after the Cascades mountain range, Amtrak has run this route since 1972. The service runs nearly 500 miles down the Northwest Corridor, all the way to Eugene, Oregon. Let's get on board and I'll explain the reason we're heading south rather than north. So this is our business class seating for this route, and I think we may have been assigned the worst one. Let's offset this discomfort with a visit to the adjoining cafe for a caffeine hit. Well, I have to say, this is a lot nicer than our seat over in business class, so we're going to sit back, relax, enjoy a nice coffee as we depart out of Vancouver Station, bound for the US. Leaving Vancouver behind, where exactly are we going then? We'll be taking our train only to the first stop of Bellingham, just over the border in Washington State. Well, welcome to Bellingham. We've arrived in the US, but as you'll be likely wondering, this is still far from Alaska. So how are we going to get there? Well, there's an interesting way, and it's called the Alaska Marine Highway. Let's go and work out what we need to do. What I meant by Marine Highway, of course, we're going to be taking a ferry. What do you think to that, Dad?
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
It'll be interesting, won't it?
It's not a cruise, is it?
No, Dad, this is not a cruise ship. Priorities, of course, are checking in at the ticketing office, as we're issued our boarding passes. It's at this point we spy our ship, the MV Kennecott. Built back in 1998 in Mississippi, our vessel has capacity for 500 passengers and around 80 vehicles. Let's waste no more time and go get on board. There are several ticketing options for this passage, but I've booked us a cabin, so we'll firstly need to proceed to the purser's office to collect our room key. Around 20 minutes of waiting in line later, we're given our room key and are directed over to our cabin. Welcome to our new home, Dad.
It's not a cruise, is it?
No, it's a little basic, but it's gonna do the job.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
So I booked us the best room on board, a 4-berth room. As mentioned, it's basic, but it has everything you need for a short sailing. Our bunks are made up with fresh linens. We have a sofa and a window to watch the world go by. There's a wash basin with adjoining modular bathroom. It's all very clean, though clearly showing signs of its age. So there are no safety briefings per se, but a quick glance at the safety instructions and our personal stash of life jackets puts our minds at ease. Meanwhile, the last of the vehicles being loaded into our vessel, and it's not all too long before we're fully laden and ready for departure. So where exactly are we going? We'll be sailing for the next 800 miles, back through Canadian waters, and indeed the famous Inside Passage, all the way to Ketchikan, Alaska. Now, dinner on board isn't quite like a cruise ship, and I should stop comparing it to a cruise ship because it's nothing like that. However, there is a restaurant and a cafe on board which is just about to open. So I think let's grab my jacket because it is getting a bit colder, head out and go and see what dinner looks like. The ship's dining room is located up on deck 7, just one deck up from our cabin, but alas we get distracted by the pub. It's also pretty reasonably priced, and it's not as if there's a drinks package on board this ferry. Dad is coming clutch with the Icy Bay IPAs, which at 6.2% certainly pack a punch. Right, we're hungry now, let's go check out the restaurant. It's kind of a mix between a buffet and made to order items, which can be ordered at the kitchen counter. Seating wise we have quite the choice, and opt for one of the booths. Food wise, Dad has gone for the salmon burger, and I the Philly cheese steak. Back in our room I make it time for bed. It's been a long day of travel. Let's get those curtains closed and NASA PJs on. Good morning. Well, I slept really well with a little rockiness during the night. First up, I think I'll hop in the shower. Now for breakfast. What have we gone for? It appears the pancakes are a popular choice today. So, with breakfast out of the way, what do you fancy doing now, Dad?
Well, we could have a look around the ship. I certainly don't want any more breakfast.
No.
I think we'll start by taking a look at the outer decks. There's a kind of promenade that wraps around the vessel. It also gives us a chance to bask in some sunshine, despite it getting colder the further north we travel. So there's actually a pretty unique accommodation option on board this ship. One I've read about online but want to investigate. Believe it or not, you can pitch your tent on this deck. Really only something you'd want to do in the summer months, but the staff encourage it should you wish to brave the elements. Should you not want to camp on deck, but still save the cost of a cabin, there's inside space for you. Facilities wise, you have access to a water fountain and some utilitarian, yet clean washrooms. Let's check out lunch on board then. It's great to see this is a DC ship and not the Pepsi kind. We've both opted for sandwiches, with Dad choosing the tuna mayo and I the ham and cheese. So what's on the agenda this afternoon? Well, first up we'll remain in the restaurant and get some Monopoly Deal on the go. I'm still trying to beat Dad. Failing at this task, it results in an afternoon nap for us both. It must be the sea air. Post-nap, there's one area we've not checked out, and this is the ship's main lounge. There's even a small movie theatre, running videos about the destination which this ship calls on, including Ketchikan. With our appetites whet in anticipation for our arrival into Alaska tomorrow, let's head back to the pub for another one of those brilliant IPAs. And you know the drill by now, back in the restaurant for dinner service. Dad has the battered cod with a baked potato, and I, the baked potato and salad, a fresh and somewhat healthy dinner. Would you believe it? We've arrived into Ketchikan, Alaska, after 5,500 miles of travel. Let's get off the ship and step foot on dry Alaskan land and make it official. Before we celebrate, how much did this endeavour cost me? Unsurprisingly, the bulk of the cost was the Canadian, given we had 2 rooms in prestige class, along with some rather punchy hotels. But the all-important grand total is $29,000. Crazy money, yes, but was it worth it? Absolutely.
Welcome to Alaska.
Welcome, we finally arrived after our epic journey all the way from Miami. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you all again next time.